Commander Vextar adjusted his crystalline throat amplifier and gazed across the vast lecture hall filled with young cadets from 17 different species. The Galactic Military Academy Xenobiology class was always his favorite to teach, especially when covering the peculiarities of various species' combat capabilities. As we conclude today's lesson on species-specific warfare, Vextar announced in his melodic Altarian voice, "Let us review the humans of Earth, arguably the most fascinating case study in our database." A ripple of interest passed through the assembled students. The Zephyrians' luminescent wings flickered with curiosity, while the rock-like granites shifted their massive forms to better attention. In the back corner, barely visible among the towering aliens, sat Marcus Chen, the Academy's only human exchange student. Humans, Vextar continued, projecting a holographic image of Earth, represent perhaps the most equipment-dependent species we have encountered. Unlike the granites, who can crush starship hulls with their bare hands, or the Zephyrians who generate bioelectric fields, humans possess no natural weapons whatsoever. The instructor's 4 eyes gleamed as he warmed to his topic. They have no claws, no fangs, no armored skin, no poison glands, no telepathic abilities. Their physical strength is laughably weak by galactic standards. Remove their tools and weapons, and humans become utterly helpless, probably the most vulnerable sentient species in known space. Several students nodded knowingly. They had all heard the stories of human colonies that fell within hours when their defense systems failed, of human soldiers who surrendered immediately when disarmed. In fact, Vextar added with academic authority, the human military doctrine is entirely based on the assumption that they cannot engage in combat without technological assistance. Their entire evolutionary strategy has been to outsource their survival to tools rather than develop any innate combat abilities. That's when it happened, a soft rumbling sound from the back of the hall. It started low, like distant thunder, then grew into an unmistakable human laugh. Marcus Chen was chuckling, his shoulders shaking with barely contained mirth. The hall fell silent. 200 alien students turned to stare at the small human in the back corner. Vextar's 4 eyes narrowed in confusion. "Student Chen," the commander said stiffly, "do you find something amusing about this scientific analysis?" Marcus stood slowly, and for the first time, the other students noticed something different about him. Where most humans appeared soft and vulnerable, there was something in Marcus's posture, something in the way he moved, that seemed wrong, predatory. "I'm sorry, Commander," Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall without amplification. "It's just, that's not quite accurate." Vextar's crystalline throat amplifier hummed with irritation. "I beg your pardon. The data is quite conclusive. Humans without weapons are terrifying," Marcus interrupted quietly. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Several of the more sensitive species actually recoiled at the casual way he said it. Marcus began walking down the center aisle, his footsteps unnaturally quiet for someone moving across metal flooring. "See, Commander, you've been studying the wrong humans. You've been looking at our farmers, our engineers, our diplomats, the 99.9% of our species that we deliberately keep away from places like this." The alien students watched in growing unease as Marcus continued his descent. There was something wrong with his gait, something that triggered ancient predator recognition instincts across species lines. "You want to know what humans are really like without weapons?" Marcus asked conversationally. "We're pursuit predators, Commander. We don't run fast, but we never stop running. We track wounded prey for days, until it collapses from exhaustion. We used to hunt mammoth creatures 50 times our size by throwing sticks at them and following the blood trail until they died from 1,000 tiny wounds." He had reached the front of the hall now. Vextar, despite being nearly twice Marcus's height, somehow felt like he was being looked down upon. We have binocular vision for tracking prey, Commander. We sweat so we can regulate body temperature during extended hunts. We have persistence and pattern recognition that borders on precognition. And most importantly, Marcus smiled, and several students gasped at the sight of his teeth. We have something most species lost when they develop civilization. What? Vexstar whispered. We remember how to be animals. Marcus turned to address the class, and now his voice carried a different quality, something ancient and primal that made even the granites shift nervously. Every human child plays games that simulate hunting and warfare. We call it tag and hide and seek, but we're really teaching our young how to track, pursue, and capture prey. We do it for fun. His smile widened. We're probably the only species in the galaxy that considers stalking and killing to be recreational activities. The hall was dead silent now. Even the ambient hum of the air recycling system seemed muted. You've never seen humans fight without weapons, Commander, because we're very careful about when we let that particular genie out of the bottle. The humans you've studied, our merchants, our diplomats, our scientists, they're the ones we trust to interact with civilized species. Marcus paused. The others. We keep them busy elsewhere. Commander Vexstar felt his 4 hearts racing in a rhythm he didn't recognize. Around the hall, predator species were instinctively activating defensive measures, while prey species were calculating escape routes. Where? Vexstar managed to ask. Marcus's smile disappeared entirely. Fighting the things that hunt in the dark between stars, Commander. Fighting the things that make even humans check their locks twice before sleeping. Fighting the things that would make this entire academy irrelevant if they ever decided to organize. He turned and began walking back up the aisle. Class dismissed, he called over his shoulder. And Commander? Next time you want to discuss human combat capabilities, maybe check which humans you're talking to first. As Marcus reached the exit, he paused and looked back one final time. The assembled students saw something flicker in his eyes, something wild and patient, and utterly without mercy. Oh, and just so we're clear, he added casually, every human in this academy qualified for admission the same way. We all pass the exact same combat trials as everyone else. His grin returned. We just did it without any of our usual equipment. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss, leaving 200 of the galaxy's most dangerous species sitting in absolute silence, all of them suddenly very aware that they had just learned something they probably weren't supposed to know. In the quiet that followed, Commander Vexstar made a mental note to revise his lecture materials, and perhaps to request a security review of the Academy's human exchange program. After all, if Marcus Chen was what humans considered suitable for academic exchange, what did that say about the ones they kept at home?